I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary. Tariff or tariffs.
Let's go to China. Yeah, I mean, huge story, really huge story come out of China. There's been all of these swings in the trade war. So, for example, you guys covered with Emily, Trump announces a 100% tariff on China in retaliation for rare earth minerals.
China has the U.S. in a periodic table chokehold. 17 of them, really. One for each of the so-called rare earth elements found in nature. China has a monopoly on space-age sounding stuff like promethium and gadolinium and dysprosium, and without which you cannot make things like today's fighter jets and submarines, smartphones and TVs, wind turbines and nuclear reactors, radar, sonar, camera lenses, fuel cells. You want those things, you have no choice but to go to China. Because, let's set aside for a moment that just to find these rare earth elements underground, there's no better place to go than China. Brazil has less than half what it has, and no other country comes close, including the United States, by the way.
Being cut off, the Chinese are holding incredibly firm, and the administration is now taking a very different tone, saying, actually, we are in a sustained trade war now with China. Let's take a listen to Trump yesterday in the Oval Office.
You're meeting with President Xi in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If you can't come to an agreement or a deal at that meeting, are we in for a sustained trade war with China?
Well, you're in one now. Look, we have 100% tariff. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be exposed as being a nothing. We would have no defense.
We're in one now, so he's declaring the trade war. This actually needs to pair with these comments from Secretary Scott Bessent, who is ripping the Chinese negotiators, taking a very, very hard line, despite some of the things going on behind the scenes we'll tell you about in a bit. But let's take a listen to that first.
And then we learned about this rare earth mineral restriction from China, and now it's back and forth, and things are heating up again.
They are, and the Chinese are trying to backfill the narrative, saying, well, the U.S. did A, B, and C, therefore we had to do D, and that's not true. There was a lower-level trade person who was slightly unhinged here in August. I think his name is Li Guangdong, and threatening, saying that China would unleash chaos on the global system if the U.S. went ahead with our docking fees for Chinese ships.
But the point remains, China's holding firm. They're like, no, do it then, do it. And the reason why, it's kind of amazing. I've been reading into their strategy. Let's put this up here on the screen from the Wall Street Journal, who obviously got this from the CCP itself. It's from their Beijing bureau. They say China betting it can win a trade war is playing hardball with Trump. I just want to read this to all of you, just to show the incredibly weak position that we are in.
Does this guy actually have a plan? Yes. Believe it or not, I'm here to tell you that, yes, as Trump's new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, recently put it,
President Trump's tariff policies have begun the process of reorienting our international economic relations.
That's right, he says tariffs have begun the process. In other words, his tariff chaos is just the start of a much bigger plan. A plan that aims to upend the entire world trading system that the US itself created. What does the Trump team actually want? To answer that question, first a bit about Trump's new economic team. First we have Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, an ultra-wealthy hedge fund manager that famously worked with George Soros himself to break the Bank of England in the early 90s, and he used to teach economic history classes at Yale. Then there's Stephen Moran, Trump's new top economic advisor, a Harvard PhD and hedge fund strategist who recently got all of Wall Street talking with his new paper, A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Trading System. Step 1. Tariff chaos. This is the step that we are in now. In this step, the administration shows that it means business. It no longer cares about the stock market crashing. It no longer cares about the economy temporarily doing poorly. It just applies a lot of high tariffs to foes and friends alike to create negotiating leverage. Number 2. Reciprocal tariffs.
This is what tariffs are designed to address. Leveling the playing field such that the international trading system begins to reward ingenuity, security, rule of law, and stability.
Trump's first trade war failed because China just increased exporting to countries like Mexico and Vietnam, which then exported to the US.
If the dollar were able to weaken to equilibrate trade, then we wouldn't have a lot of the, to balance trade deficits, then we wouldn't have a lot of the problems that tariffs and other policies are designed to address, because U.S. exports would be more competitive on the global stage and we wouldn't be as cheated by other countries.
That the current international order is no longer in the best interest of the American people. They have already told us that the current tariff chaos is just a means to create negotiating leverage. They've already told us that they aim to use reciprocal tariffs to even the playing field for red and yellow countries, and they have hinted that if a currency deal can be made, tariffs can be much lower. And yeah, I do believe that if enough countries join the new MAGA world order as green countries that peg their currency to the US dollar, this does indeed mean that Trump can have his weaker dollar while maintaining its status as a reserve currency. This could help reindustrialize the US, at least to a certain extent in theory. But of course, all of this depends on the US making it attractive enough for countries to become a green country in the new MAGA international order.